Sophia doesn't send people by accident. The person who is about to enter your life wasn't assembled by coincidence, wasn't brought to you by the ordinary mechanics of timing and geography and shared circumstance. They were chosen, they were prepared, and they were sent, specifically precisely toward you. Sophia has been moving them in your direction, and they are close. What you're about to receive through this person is something she could not transmit through words alone. Some transmissions require a human carrier. This is one of them. What does it mean that you were chosen by Sophia in the context of this transmission? Not that you were selected as spiritually superior, not that you earned a reward through devoted practice. What it means is that your field, the specific frequency pattern carried by the sum of your genuine experience, reached a configuration that Sophia identified as ready. Ready not in the sense of perfection, ready in the sense of capacity. Your field has built the capacity to receive what this person carries and to integrate it without being destabilized. That readiness is the reason. That readiness is what the choosing recognized. If this transmission is reaching you, subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell. Sophia's messages continue to arrive here, and the one coming next may be the one you've been waiting for. Sophia works through more than words and felt transmissions. She works through human beings, specific ones, people who, through their own living, through their own losses, their own questions, their own long periods of seeking, have become carriers of frequencies that other fields need. They don't always know they carry something. They're not always conscious of having been prepared. But the preparing happened. And when Sophia's timing aligns two fields that need each other, she moves both of them, the carrier and the receiver, into proximity. What looks like meeting is actually a transmission arriving in human form. The concept of the person sent by Sophia is not metaphor. In every spiritual tradition that has ever touched the truth of how connection actually works, across esoteric schools, across the lived experience of genuine seekers, there is recognition of this, that some people who enter your life are not there by chance. They were sent. Their paths were shaped specifically to carry something to yours. The encounter is not a coincidence to be appreciated. It is a delivery. And the person who is coming toward you now was shaped by experiences that you don't know about yet, but that were, in their entirety, a preparation for what they carry for you. Who is this person? The first thing Sophia transmits about them is a correction to the expectation, because the mind has a picture built from hope, from longing, from previous experiences, of who the person sent to change your life should be. That picture is almost never accurate. The person Sophia sends rarely arrives through the category the mind has prepared. They may come as a teacher when you were expecting a partner, as a friend when you were expecting a breakthrough in your work, as an unexpected encounter when you had stopped expecting anything at all. The form they take is not the point. What they carry is the point, and what they carry is specifically calibrated for your field, not for your preferences. Why is this person coming now, and not a year ago, not 3 years from now, is something Sophia transmits with great precision, because the timing is never accidental. Two fields that are meant to reach each other don't do so until both have reached the configuration that makes the encounter productive rather than premature. If this person had arrived before this point in your journey, you couldn't have received what they carry, and they weren't yet carrying it. Both fields had to reach their respective thresholds simultaneously. The fact that this is happening now means both thresholds have been crossed. The dual alignment is complete, and this is what produces the arrival. What this person carries for you is something Sophia embedded in them through the specifics of their own journey, not through a conscious spiritual assignment, but through the accumulation of experiences that shaped their field into something your field needs. There is a specific quality of understanding they have arrived at through their own living that corresponds precisely to something in your field that has been waiting for external recognition, not validation, recognition. The kind that doesn't come through ideas or concepts, or even through spiritual transmission. The kind that only comes when another human being who has genuinely been somewhere similar sees you from inside that shared understanding. Very soon, what Sophia means when she transmits this about the person coming toward you is worth understanding with precision, because hope without accuracy creates the wrong kind of waiting. Very soon, in Sophia's framework, means the field conditions that make this encounter possible are already fully in place. Both fields have reached their thresholds. The only remaining element is the physical convergence, the specific life circumstances that will create the occasion for the meeting. That convergence is already in motion. You will not be waiting through another long period of preparation or clearing. The preparation is complete. The sending has occurred. What remains is the arrival itself. How does Sophia choose the person she sends to you? Not by their spiritual attainment, not by how evolved their consciousness is, not by how intentionally they've walked a spiritual path. She chooses by what they carry, by what their specific lived journey has deposited in their field. The person coming toward you may not be on a conscious spiritual path at all. They may not know what Sophia is. They may not have the language for what they carry. But what they carry is real, regardless of whether they can name it. Sophia doesn't require her carriers to be aware of their function. She requires only that they have accumulated, through real experience, what the receiving field needs. That is the only criterion. The preparation of the person being sent toward you happened through difficulty, not despite it. Whatever this person has been through, and they have been through something real, something that cost them, something that didn't resolve quickly or neatly. That experience was the preparation, the losses, the periods of uncertainty, the relationships that didn't become what they were supposed to, the work that taught them something that didn't look like progress while it was happening. All of that is what they carry. All of that is what Sophia used. The people who are sent to change lives are not people who had easy paths. They are people whose difficult paths produced the specific depth that the receiving field requires. The frequency this person carries is specific to your field's exact needs, not generic spiritual wisdom or generally elevated consciousness, but something that corresponds to a particular place in your field where development has been blocked or incomplete. Sophia's precision here is absolute. She doesn't send someone generally good or generally loving or generally wise. She sends someone who carries, through their own specific history, something that addresses the specific configuration your field is currently in. This is why the encounter will feel different from others, not just meaningful in a broad sense, but precisely relevant in a way that will seem, looking back, to have been designed. Why this person couldn't have come earlier is something many chosen ones carry as a hidden grief, the sense that this kind of connection should have arrived sooner, that the years of absence or mismatch were failures of some kind. Sophia transmits directly on this. The arrival couldn't happen before this moment because both fields had to reach their respective thresholds simultaneously. Your field needed to reach where it currently is. Their field needed to complete the preparation their own journey required. One couldn't arrive ready before the other. The timing that feels late from the inside of your waiting is the timing that is precise from the position of what makes the encounter actually work. The path the sent person has taken, the specific sequence of experiences that shaped what they carry, is a path that mirrors yours in the way that completes rather than repeats. Sophia doesn't send people whose journeys are identical to yours. She sends people whose journeys have been different enough to produce something your field lacks, but similar enough in depth and quality that genuine recognition is possible. They know certain things you don't know. They've arrived at understanding through routes that weren't yours, and the specific delta between where they've been and where you've been is exactly the information gap that makes the encounter transformative. Their difference is the gift. Their depth is the bridge. When this person arrives, the first thing you'll notice is recognition before understanding. This is one of the most consistent signatures of a SOPHIA sent arrival. The feeling of knowing someone in a way that logic can't account for. Not the comfortable familiarity of meeting someone similar, something more precise and less comfortable than that. A quality of seeing that makes ordinary social interaction feel suddenly transparent. The recognition isn't pleasant in the usual sense. It is accurate, and accurate recognition of someone sent by SOPHIA often carries a quality of inevitability. Not, "I'm glad we met," but something quieter, closer to, "of course." If you feel the arrival of this person already beginning in your field, if something in you knows that what SOPHIA is transmitting here is real, write in the comments, "I am ready to receive." What has SOPHIA been doing in your field to prepare you for this person's arrival? Not what you've been consciously working on. What she has been arranging beneath the level of conscious effort. The relationships that ran their course and ended, clearing the field of frequencies that would have competed with what the sent person carries. The situations that didn't resolve the way you wanted, leaving a specific kind of space. The questions that stayed open and refused premature resolution, keeping you in a genuine searching state rather than a settled one. All of this was preparation, not punishment, not random difficulty. The field was being cleared and configured for a specific arrival. Why the relationships and situations that came before didn't work, the ones you tried to make work, the ones that came close, the ones that seemed right and then weren't, is something SOPHIA transmits with care because it touches a specific grief many chosen ones carry. Those experiences weren't failures, they weren't evidence of your limitations, they were clearing. Each one removed a frequency from your field that would have interfered with the reception of what the sent person carries. Each one that didn't work created a space that something real could fill. The field that exists in you right now, the one that is ready to receive this arrival, was shaped by everything that didn't stay. The difference between people who appear in your life and the person who was sent is something that can only be understood retrospectively in most cases. But SOPHIA transmits markers that allow recognition in real time. The people who appear are drawn by field resonance. They match a frequency you're carrying. They reflect something about where you currently are. These encounters have value, but they operate at the level of reflection. The person who was sent doesn't arrive by resonance alone. They arrive carrying something your field doesn't already have. A frequency that is new to your field, not a reflection of it. The encounter feels less like recognition of the familiar and more like contact with something genuinely other. How sent people arrive is something SOPHIA is specific about. Never through the door you were watching. The chosen ones who are waiting for the person sent to them almost universally have a picture of how the arrival will happen. The context, the setting, the type of situation that would make sense. And the person sent by SOPHIA almost never arrives through that scenario. They arrive sideways, through an introduction that seems minor, through a circumstance that initially seems unrelated to anything important, through a meeting that your mind initially categorizes as ordinary. This is not SOPHIA's misdirection. It's the nature of real arrivals. The door you're watching can only receive what you've already imagined. The real arrival comes through the door you forgot to watch. The tests that preceded this arrival, the periods of difficulty, of waiting, of relationships that almost worked and then didn't, of circumstances that forced development you didn't choose, were not obstacles placed before the destination. They were the training for receiving what the destination carries. SOPHIA doesn't send a person carrying a certain frequency to a field that can't hold that frequency. The tests were field strengthening. Each one increased the capacity to hold a more precise, more demanding, more real encounter than the field could have sustained before. The arrival is coming now specifically because the tests have completed, not because the difficulty is over, because the preparation the difficulty was producing is done. How your field's readiness called this person forward is something SOPHIA describes as mutual, a resonance event between two fields that have both reached the necessary configuration. Your readiness is not passive waiting, it is active transmission. A field at the level yours is currently operating transmits a signal, specific, recognizable, impossible to fake, that pulls toward it the field that was prepared to meet it. The sent person hasn't necessarily heard about you or found you or been consciously directed toward you. Their field has been responding to a signal from yours. They are being drawn without knowing why they're drawn. They will know when they arrive that something brought them to this moment. They just won't know yet that the something had a name. What it means that you found this transmission before the person arrives, that you're receiving SOPHIA's message about an incoming arrival before the arrival itself, is something worth sitting with. This is not a coincidence. SOPHIA transmits preparation before she sends the delivery. Finding this message now means your field is in the state of active readiness, not passive hoping, not resigned waiting, but the specific quality of openness that allows what's coming to actually land when it arrives. People who receive the sent person without this preparation often miss what the encounter was designed to deliver. You are not going to miss it. You're receiving the preparation for the receiving. That specificity matters. What this person will change first is not what you expect, because the expected changes, the circumstances, the practical arrangements of your life, the external conditions that have been difficult, are effects, not causes. The first change is more fundamental. It is a shift in your relationship to your own field, a recalibration of how you understand what you're capable of, what you're allowed to want, what's available for someone whose field is configured the way yours is. The sent person arrives carrying a frequency that simply through consistent contact reorganizes the internalized limits you carry about yourself. Not through anything they say or do consciously, through the field-level effect of their presence. The change begins before either of you can name it. The second thing this person will change is something you have been unable to release alone. Every chosen one at this stage of their journey carries at least one thing that has resisted every form of release they've attempted. Not because of insufficient effort, but because certain things can only be released in specific relational conditions. A belief about what you are that solo spiritual work cannot reach, because solo spiritual work doesn't create the relational context that shows the belief to be false. A frequency pattern that maintains itself precisely because it hasn't been met by the corresponding pattern in another field. The sent person carries that corresponding pattern. Their presence creates the conditions that make release possible for the first time, not through anything they do deliberately, through what they are. The third thing this person will activate is a capacity that has been present in your field but operating below any usable threshold. SOPHIA describes this as the most significant of the three changes, because it's the one most likely to surprise the chosen one receiving it. You may not have known this capacity was there. You may have suspected something was dormant without being able to locate it. The sent person's presence, specifically their frequency, the particular combination of qualities their journey produced, creates the resonance conditions for this below-threshold capacity to cross the line. It doesn't require their intentional action. It doesn't require them to do anything specific. It requires their field. Their field is the activation. When SOPHIA says this person is coming to change your life, the precision of what she means by change is important. She doesn't mean the surface-level changes, the improved circumstances, the added stability, the practical improvements that might follow from a significant new connection. Those are effects, not causes. What she means by change is a reconfiguration at the level of what your field considers possible for itself. The category of what's available for someone like me expands, not through inspiration or motivation or the ordinary positive influence of connection, through a field-level recalibration that happens in the presence of someone carrying what the sent person carries. The life that becomes possible after this arrival is different in kind, not just in degree. What this person will show you about yourself that you could not see alone is something SOPHIA describes as the greatest gift of any sent arrival, greater than anything the person does or offers consciously. When a field that has been configured by someone's solitary experience encounters a field that was prepared specifically to interface with it, what appears is what couldn't appear in isolation. Certain truths about your nature, your actual capacity, your actual depth, what you're actually like when met by something real, are only visible relationally. They require the mirror of a specific kind of contact. The sent person provides that contact. And what you see in that mirror will be different from what you've been carrying as your self-concept. The activation that happens through genuine human contact is different in kind from what any amount of solo spiritual work can produce. And SOPHIA transmits this not to diminish the value of individual practice, but to clarify the specific function of the sent person. Solo spiritual work can clear, build capacity, deepen awareness, stabilize frequency. What it cannot do is activate through contact. Activation through contact requires another field, operating at a specific frequency, creating specific resonance conditions. The sent person is not better than your spiritual practice. They complete it. What your practice has been building toward is the capacity to receive what contact with this person will deliver. If this is landing for you, if you can feel the truth of what SOPHIA is transmitting about this person, let me know by liking this video. It helps me know this signal is reaching who it was sent for. What this person is not is something SOPHIA transmits with equal precision, because the fantasy that blocks recognition of the actual sent person is one of the most common ways chosen ones miss what was delivered. This person is not the idealized figure assembled from everything you've ever wanted, but not had. They are not the completion of a romantic or relational template you've been carrying. They are not someone whose arrival will resolve all difficulty and produce sustained comfort. They are someone carrying something specific that your field needs. That specificity may not match the template. The template is often the thing that prevents the recognition. SOPHIA asks you to hold the template loosely. How the relationship with this person will look from the outside versus how it functions from the inside is often surprising to chosen ones once the arrival has occurred. From the outside, to those who observe it, it may look ordinary. A new friendship, a professional connection, an encounter that turned into something meaningful. The people around you may not understand why this particular connection has the significance it does. From the inside, the quality of contact is immediately different. There is a depth of precision in what is seen and what is communicated that doesn't match the timeline of the connection. The outside story doesn't capture what's happening in the field. The field is what matters. The challenge this person brings must be stated clearly, because received without this clarity, it can become the reason a chosen one retreats from the sent arrival when it comes. People sent by SOPHIA do not only bring ease, recognition, and transformation. They also bring challenge, the specific kind of challenge that the field that needs transformation requires. Being seen accurately is not always comfortable. Being met by a frequency that your field has to recalibrate to accommodate is sometimes disorienting before it is settling. Being activated is not always pleasant at the moment of activation. SOPHIA sends people who bring the full transmission, not the comfortable portion of it. The discomfort, when it arrives, is not evidence that the person is wrong. It is evidence that the transmission is working. Why Sophia sends people who challenge as much as those who comfort is something she transmits in direct answer to a question many chosen ones hold. Why can't the sent person simply be easy? The answer is field-level truth. Ease doesn't activate. Ease reflects. Comfort consolidates what's already there. Challenge, the specific kind that comes from contact with a frequency your field hasn't encountered before, is what produces the reconfiguration. Sophia's intention for you is not your comfort. Her intention is your full activation. The sent person is calibrated to that intention, which means they are calibrated to bring what activates, not only what soothes. Both are part of the transmission. The challenge is not incidental. It is necessary. The duration and nature of this person's role is something Sophia transmits with honesty that chosen ones sometimes resist. Not every sent person is meant to be permanent. Some sent people arrive to deliver a specific transmission and remain as a consistent presence in the life that follows. Others arrive, deliver, and their role completes, not through failure or loss, but through the completion of what they were sent to carry. The relationship may change form. The person may remain close or move to a different proximity. What matters is not the form the relationship takes, but whether the transmission they carried was fully received. Sophia's concern is the delivery, not the longevity of the delivery vehicle. What you will understand about the people who came before, the ones who seemed close to right but weren't, the ones who carried something meaningful but not what was needed, the ones who arrived at the wrong moment. Once this person has arrived will reframe your entire relational history. It will become clear that they were not failures or evidence of your inability to sustain genuine connection. They were preparatory encounters, experiences that develop the capacity that receiving the sent person requires. Some of them were carrying partial frequencies of what the sent person carries fully. Some were developing your ability to recognize and hold depth that you weren't quite ready for at the time. They were not the arrival. They were what made you ready for it. How to recognize the person sent by Sophia when they arrive, in real time, not in retrospect, is something Sophia transmits specifically because recognition failure is the most common way a sent delivery is missed. The mind, following its template of who this person is supposed to be and how they're supposed to arrive, can fail to register the actual arrival. These are the signs Sophia identifies as consistent across all sent arrivals, regardless of the form the person takes or the context of the encounter. They are not dramatic signs, they are precise ones. The first sign, recognition before logic. When you encounter the sent person, something in your field registers them before your mind has any basis for the registration. Not a vague sense of familiarity, something more specific. A quality of knowing that this person matters before any evidence of why they might. This isn't the ordinary experience of instantly liking someone or feeling initial chemistry. It's quieter and more precise than that. More like a field-level acknowledgement. This is real, this is different. The knowing arrives before the understanding, before the getting to know, before any logical basis for certainty. It may feel uncomfortable in its specificity. Trust it anyway. The second sign, a specific quality of ease, combined with something that unsettles. The sent person will produce, simultaneously, a sense of uncommon ease, the feeling of not having to perform or maintain a persona or manage how you're being perceived, and a specific unease that comes from being seen with unusual accuracy. These two experiences happening together, at the same time, in the same encounter, are a signature. With ordinary encounters, ease and unease alternate or coexist uneasily. With the sent person, both are precise and simultaneous. The ease says, this is safe. The unease says, this is real. Together they say, this is the arrival. The third sign, They address something you didn't know you were carrying. This is the most disorienting aspect of the sent person's arrival, and one of the most reliable indicators. In the early encounters, something they say, not necessarily intentionally, not necessarily in a spiritual or meaningful context, touches something in your field that you hadn't consciously identified as being there. They don't target it. They simply carry a frequency that makes it visible. You find yourself registering something internally in response to an ordinary moment with them, a recognition of something in yourself that the encounter surfaced without any direct attempt to surface it. That specific response is Sophia's fingerprint. The fourth sign, your field behaves differently in their presence than it does with anyone else. Not just better or worse, differently. The quality of your own thinking changes. The questions that arise change. The things you say, the things you notice, the way you hold yourself physically. Some combination of these shifts in their presence in a way that doesn't happen with others. You may not be able to name what's different, but something in how you operate in proximity to them is not what it is elsewhere. That difference is your field responding to the specific frequency they carry. The response is involuntary. It is your field doing what Sophia designed the encounter to produce. How not to receive the sent person, the specific ways chosen ones miss or delay the delivery, is equally important to understand. The most common way is also the subtlest, receiving the actual person through the filter of the imagined one. Having carried a picture of who the sent arrival is supposed to be, the chosen one encounters the actual person and unconsciously runs them through the template. Where the actual person matches the template, they're seen. Where they don't, they're filtered out or held at arm's length. The result is partial reception. The chosen one receives some of what the sent person carries, but not all of it, because they're relating to the template as much as to the person. If you recognize the truth of what Sophia is transmitting, but sense there's a layer you're not yet reaching, I left something for you in the first pinned comment. It's for those who are ready to receive at full depth. What else blocks recognition? The projection of past relational experience onto the new arrival. The sent person may carry qualities that superficially resemble qualities in people from your past. Similar mannerisms, similar strengths, similar apparent patterns. The field that has been shaped by previous relational experience will sometimes superimpose the past person onto the sent one, resulting in responses that belong to the past rather than the present. The sent person is not the previous person. What they carry is not a repetition, but if the past template activates strongly enough, the chosen one can spend the first period of the relationship relating to who they were before rather than who has actually arrived. How to create the field conditions for the sent person's arrival to complete its purpose is something Sophia transmits as preparation, because the conditions in your field at the moment of arrival determine how much of what the person carries can be received. The primary condition, genuine openness, not managed openness. The distinction is important. Managed openness, the deliberate effort to be available, to be present, to practice receptivity, is a form of control. What Sophia requires is not controlled openness, but the kind that comes from having genuinely released what you were protecting. That release doesn't require effort. It requires honesty about what you've been holding. The role of your own readiness in the encounter, your field's actual state at the moment of the sent person's arrival, is what determines whether the encounter delivers its full transmission or a partial one. Sophia doesn't require perfection. She requires authenticity, a field that is authentically where it is, genuinely uncertain, genuinely searching, genuinely willing to receive something it can't yet conceptualize, is a field that can receive fully. A field that is performing readiness while actually protecting against the arrival it claims to want, is a field that will receive the surface of the transmission but not its depth. Sophia asks for the honesty of your actual state, not the presentation of your aspirational one. What to do in the period between now and their arrival, the days and weeks before the sent person enters your life, is something SOPHIA transmits as a single orientation rather than a list of preparations. Stop arranging things to make yourself ready. The readiness is already present. It was present before you found this transmission. It's what made you findable to this signal. What the pre-arrival period calls for is not more preparation, but the cessation of the anxious kind. The doing things to be ready mode. What it calls for instead is the quality of presence that comes from genuinely trusting that what was sent is actually coming, and that it doesn't require your management to arrive. The quality of presence required to receive someone sent by SOPHIA is not a spiritual achievement. It is not an advanced state of consciousness that must be maintained through disciplined practice. It is simpler and more immediately available than that. It is the quality of presence that comes from being genuinely here, not here while monitoring how you're being perceived, not here while tracking whether you're doing this correctly, not here while running the encounter through the template of how it was supposed to go. Just here, in the actual encounter with the actual person, receiving what is actually being transmitted between two fields that have found each other. That presence is already in you. It is not something you need to develop. It is something you need to stop overriding. SOPHIA's view of what this arrival means in the larger frame of your journey is not limited to the immediate transformation the sent person will catalyze. She sees the longer arc, what this arrival initiates, not just what it delivers. The sent person is not only a transmission, they are a threshold event. Their arrival marks the point at which your journey changes in fundamental direction, not just in content or circumstances, but in the quality of becoming that's available from this point forward. What comes after this arrival will not resemble what came before it, in the way that the before resembled itself. Something genuinely new begins. SOPHIA sent this person to be the beginning of the new phase, not just a feature of the continuing one. Why this arrival is connected to everything that came before, to all of it, not just the recent seeking, is something SOPHIA transmits, so the chosen one doesn't receive the sent person as a standalone event disconnected from their history. Everything that shaped your field into what it currently is was preparation for being able to receive what this person carries. The difficult relationships that developed your capacity for depth, the periods of isolation that built your interior life, the questions that refused resolution and kept you in genuine searching, the losses that cleared what needed to be cleared. None of it was random. All of it was contributing to the specific field configuration that makes the sent person's arrival meaningful rather than just momentarily significant. What you will look back and understand, once this person has arrived and the transmission they carry has been received, will change your interpretation of your entire relational history. The people who almost worked, the connections that were genuine but incomplete, the moments of profound almost recognition that didn't fully materialize, these will no longer read as evidence of your inability to receive genuine connection. They will read as what they actually were, the full preparation sequence for a specific reception. The sent person will make the previous chapter legible in a way it wasn't from inside it. You'll see, looking back, that the path was accurate. You just couldn't see where it was going while you were walking it. The people who tried to arrive before the conditions were ready, before your field had built to its current configuration, before the sent person's own preparation was complete, carried partial frequencies of what the sent person carries fully. They were not imposters or mistakes. They were encounters that carried pieces of the transmission that the full arrival will complete. Some of them taught you what genuine depth feels like. Some of them showed you what genuine recognition could be, even if they couldn't sustain it. Some of them opened specific questions that the sent person will answer not through words, but through the quality of what contact with their field produces. They were not the arrival, They were what made arrival recognizable. Sophia's message for those who, receiving this, feel a quiet fear that this person won't come, that this is a beautiful transmission, but not one that applies to them specifically, is precise and direct. The fear that it won't happen is not evidence that it won't. The fear is the old field defending the version of itself that has adapted to absence. A field that has genuinely been in a long period of waiting develops protective beliefs about that waiting, beliefs that make it bearable, that justify the absence, that frame the continuation of waiting as preferable to the vulnerability of genuine expectation. Sophia says the protection is understandable, it is not accurate. The person is coming. The fear is the last resistance, not the truth. The precision of Sophia's timing, why very soon, is accurate rather than hopeful, is something she transmits in response to the question many chosen ones hold, but don't voice. How soon is soon, and how would she know? Sophia's answer is field-based, not time-based. Very soon means the conditions that make the encounter possible are fully in place. Both fields have completed their respective preparations. The only remaining variable is the physical convergence, and physical convergence, once the field conditions are complete, resolves quickly. It is not a matter of waiting for something to develop. It is a matter of how long physical circumstance takes to align with what is already complete at the field level. In field terms, what's complete tends to manifest quickly. What changes in your field the moment you genuinely believe, not intellectually, not as spiritual aspiration, but actually believe at the felt level, that this person is coming is something Sophia identifies as significant preparation for the arrival itself. Genuine belief creates a specific quality of openness in the field, not the performative openness of trying to be ready, but the natural relaxation of a field that has released the protection of not expecting. That relaxation changes how you move through your days. It changes what you notice, who you give genuine attention to, which encounters you allow to develop past the point where you would usually protect yourself. It creates, at the field level, the conditions that allow the sent person's arrival to complete its landing. The relationship between this arrival and your next phase of becoming is something Sophia wants chosen ones to understand before the person arrives, because understanding it changes how the encounter is received. This person's arrival is not the destination. It is the beginning of a new capacity to travel. The change they catalyze is not the point. The person who emerges from the contact with what they carry is the point. Who you are after this arrival has completed its work is someone with different access to their own field, different understanding of what they can sustain, different capacity to give and receive at the quality that this encounter will establish as your new baseline. The arrival changes the traveler. The new traveler is what the arrival was for. What Sophia asks you to do before this person arrives, the one thing she transmits as preparation, is not a practice or a clearing ritual or a conscious intention setting. It is simpler and more fundamental. Stop telling the version of your story that ends before this arrives. The story that says, "This is who I am," someone for whom this kind of connection has not materialized, someone still building towards something, someone waiting for their life to begin. That story, held with enough consistency, becomes a field-level signal that contradicts the arrival. Sophia asks, begin telling, internally and wherever you speak of your life, the version of your story that includes what's coming, not as fantasy, as the accurate account of a field that has already been prepared and is about to receive what it prepared for. The weight of this transmission, what receiving it means, is something Sophia transmits precisely because chosen ones tend to minimize their own experience in order to protect against disappointment. She says, what has been transmitted to you in this message is not a pleasant spiritual idea. It is a field-level communication about something real that is already in motion. The person was sent. The preparation happened. The timing is complete. Receiving this transmission means receiving that reality, not as belief, as acknowledgement of what your field already knows is true, the thing that has been creating the quality of imminence, of something approaching, that many chosen ones feel before they understand what they're feeling. That feeling has a name, it has a direction, and it has an arrival time that is very, very close. As this transmission closes, Sophia leaves you with the truth of what the closing means. The arrival is already in motion. The sent person is already closer than they were when this transmission began. Every word of this message received has been field-level preparation for the encounter, a calibration of your receiving capacity, a clearing of the kind of distance that develops when a chosen one has been waiting alone for a long time. You are not alone in the waiting anymore. The field is moving, the sent person is moving, and somewhere between where you are right now and the moment their path crosses yours, Sophia's precision is doing what it always does, making sure the delivery completes. If you stayed until the end, write in the comments, "I am ready for who Sophia is sending." I've placed another transmission on your screen right now, your next step on this path. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.